Hey folks, welcome back to our channel. Now, this is the Christmas in July crafty collaboration in conjunction with Mini Scenes GB. I will leave a link to the playlist down below and seriously check it out. I know that I will be. There are literally loads and loads of phenomenal resin people, and I'm hoping that they will all be in this list as well. I'm hoping that I'll be in this list. Anyway, check them out. Um, what else can you do in July but make a Christmas tree? Not very original, am I? I know, I'm so sorry. But Christmas tree is the way I went. Um, and I thought I'll put a little tiny bit of silver holographic mica just on the tips of the branches. Yes, I'm aware that there's a joke in there, but I'm not going to say it. Now, the I just sort of brushed it just a tiny bit. I wasn't too exact, I wasn't too precise. I just kind of dolloped it all on because, as I've said before, micering in detail, not really my jam at all. But, needs must, so that's what I did. I didn't think about it, didn't really sort of think about the fact that the mold itself is a matte mold. So I sort of realised about halfway through doing the mica, and I was already committed at this point. I was like, I'm not changing it now. I've already decided. We'll just go with it. We'll go with it and see how it works out. So I carried on, and just kept putting the mica in the top. It is an absolutely stunning holographic mica. We got it from Just Resin a while ago. You need the tiniest amount, and it just goes on forever. We have used this so many times in so many things, it's unreal. Now, it's about this point that I realised the mould I was using is a matte mould, so it might not actually have quite the shiny, sparkly effect that I'm hoping for. But, I figured, hey ho, I'm committed now. I'm halfway through. I'm not starting over. Um, so I just stuck with it and we'll just see how it turns out. Now, I do apologise once again for the nervousness that you hear in my voice. This is a new channel. I am new to this. I am trying really hard to not sound nervous, but this, if I'm honest, is about take 500. So, just please do bear with me. It's hard. It's hard. Anyhow, that's the micering done, much to my relief, because I don't like micering very much. Well, I do and I don't. Mostly don't. Um, Give it a little sort of knock it out, get rid of any excess. There wasn't that much, to be honest, because I put such a small amount on each branch. And then I decided to go for a Just Resin Emerald Green. Absolutely stunning colour. It's one of their um, shimmer luster pigments, and this mold unfortunately will not do this paste justice. It is just gorgeous as it sort of turns, it change. Oh, stunning! It's stunning. Again, not great with my words, am I? Dear oh dear. Anyhow, I popped it in. I'm going to speed it up a little bit because, again, you don't need to see me mixing up resin. It's, the same every single time. Stir, stir, stir. I'm absolutely not stirring that fast. That is definitely speeded up. Can you imagine the air bubbles that you'd get if you stirred that fast? That would probably not be good. Anyhow, it's all done, nice and happy. So this mold has lots of like little pointy ends and bits where air bubbles would just love to live. So I poured a little bit in and then I give it a really good squidge around. The hope being that the branches all come out and they'll be whole and intact and lovely. But we'll see. There's a couple of nice giant bubbles on the top there that at some point I'm hoping that I notice. Um, I just give it another little sort of squidge around just to try and make sure that it's all sorted. Yeah, I do spot the bubbles. Yay me. Um, I think it's just a little micro brush that I use just to get rid of those air bubbles. And then I thought, what's a Christmas tree without some prezzies underneath? So I've got a couple of little tiny little cube molds that I got in a set from Amazon when I first started doing resin, and I thought I'll fill it up with a purple, obviously, um, um, and just make a couple of little parcels to go underneath the tree. So that's all I'm doing here. Nothing too strenuous or too exciting, if I'm honest. Just two square molds full of purple colouring. The colours that I used are violet from Let's Resin. It's their translucent resin dye set. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous colours. And then all I do is give it a quick spritz with isopropyl alcohol, and then leave it for 24 hours. And by the magic of YouTube, 24 hours later, we're ready for the demold. So first up is the Christmas tree, which, fingers crossed, has branches intact. It's looking pretty good, but you can see what I mean about the matte mold, not sort of highlighting that mica powder as good as it possibly could. And then it was just demolding the little tiny parcels. And I have to say, these were a nightmare. It took me absolutely ages to get those little tiny cubes out, but they came out exactly as expected, cube shaped. So that's that bit done. So the next bit, I thought I would decorate the tree. And for this, I thought I'd use my Let's Resin UV coloured. No, let's say that the other way around. I thought I'd use the Let's Resin coloured UV. I've not. I bought these a couple of weeks ago, and I've only used one or two of the colours, um, and they're really, really good. They are so time saving because you don't have to mix up your UV with paste or mica or whatever. But these molds have got some really nice shapes, and I thought that is an ideal shape for the star on the top of the Christmas tree. So I took the yellow, um, and I thought that I would just make that star, and that's perfect to go on the top. So popped in the tiniest bit of UV. Now, I don't know if anybody else uses these, but I find that whenever I start pouring out of the bottle, you always get this giant bubble come out, and I literally don't know how to not get that. So, if anyone has any suggestions on how to avoid the initial bubble, please do let me know in the comments because it's driving me potty, and it happened on every single time that I tried to use this UV, I got this big bubble. And I'm sure that there's a knack or a trick or something, but I couldn't figure it out, or I haven't figured it out yet. Anyway, I did the star, popped it under my UV lamp, and it came out absolutely perfect. So I was really pleased with this. And then what I did is I did a couple of other, I popped it back under the lamp the other way round because I completely forgot to put my mirror underneath. And then I thought I'd do the little stars, um, and there are some bows on one of them. There it is. I thought I'd do the bows to go on top of the Christmas presents. Because what's a present without a bow? And for these, I just used some reds for the stars and white for the bows. And then all I did once I'd finished putting the UV in was I just went round each one with my micro brush just to make sure that there were no air bubbles in the on the edges or in the pockets, which always happens because these molds are so tiny. And I remembered my mirror, which is a good thing, unusual, but a good thing. I remembered my mirror, so I was able to do both sides at the same time. And the mirror itself is just a cheapy mirror that I got from IKEA. And it's perfect because if I completely wreck it, I'm not overly bothered. But no, so I put them under the lamp for a good 2 minutes. Um, and then they were all done. So I took them out, I let them cool down a little bit, and then I demolded them, and that's what they look like. Now they have got a little sort of the bit that's supposed to go on the earring, and all I did with each and every one of them was I just cut it off. Really, really simple. Cut it off, and then it's almost a perfect star. Now, I repeated this a few times off camera because nobody needs to sit through that over and over again. And then it was time to put the whole thing together, and fingers crossed, it turns out okay. So all what I did here is I took the little stars and I got a tiny bit of bonding UV and the phenomenal little pen, and I just stuck it to the tree. So really simple, star on the top, and then I popped some stars all around the tree. Pretty random. I didn't, if I'm honest, put too much sort of pattern in pattern into it. And to be quite honest with you, my tree at home is exactly the same when it is Christmas. I just shove the baubles on in any old place. Decorating the Christmas tree, not my thing. Now, I've speeded this up hugely because if I'm honest with you, at this point I was questioning my life choices. I really, really was. Those little tiny stars were so small and so difficult to hold. It was just impossible. I honestly, I would pick one up and then I would drop it and I would pick it up and I would drop it. I even tried tweezers. The tweezers couldn't hold them, although it would probably help if I cleaned my tweezers every now and then. But that's a whole different story. It was a nightmare, honestly. I just well, top tip, unless you're really good at fiddly things, get a bigger Christmas tree mold than I managed to buy. That would be my tip. Anyhow, I eventually I eventually got through it. I stuck with it, got through it, and was like, that will do now. And then I just this was the easiest part, just popping the little bows onto the presents. Now I did, you can just see to the left, I did make a couple more out of off camera simply because I like my Christmas tree to be full of presents underneath. Normally for me, obviously, but hey ho, I do buy Kirk one every now and then. But no, I just did a couple more just because I thought two looks a bit sort of Scroogey. So did a few more and then stuck bows onto those as well. And then I just pop them underneath the UV lamp, give them a quick cure just to give them a good once over. And then I thought it's time to put them all together. Now, I had this coaster mold lying around. It was just something that I did from another project, didn't end up using. And I thought it would make quite a nice sort of stand. And I quite like purple. Um, so I popped the presents on there, but I thought actually it's lacking something. So I just did a quick cut on my Cricut using some red vinyl. I just felt that it needed just that little finishing touch, if you will. So yeah, I cut that out. It was just a standard decal that I pulled off of Creative Fabrica. And then I just popped that onto the very front of the coaster, because I suppose I could have sat the Christmas tree in the middle, but I decided that the tree's going to sit at the back and the presents are going to sort of come around that Merry Christmas. I then used a huge dollop of UV resin and then spread that out all around the coaster. I wanted to make sure that there were no bubbles, because this is essentially the top layer of the coaster. Um, the the color of the coaster, if anybody's wondering, is, surprise surprise, a just resin. It is the silk violet. Absolutely gorgeous. I've got three luster purples by Just Resin. Um, Honestly, my favorite is the ultraviolet, but the silk violet is pretty close, if I'm honest. So yeah, that's just me making sure there's no bubbles, and then it's time to assemble. So I popped the Christmas tree on, tried to make it so it was kind of in the star. So I wanted the star in line with the snowflake, and then I wanted one of the presents at a slight angle. That one, and the one I'm placing now are the couple that I did off camera. Just a red glittery cube, a yellow glittery cube, and the two purple ones are the ones that you saw me do. And then I give it a really good cure under the UV lamp. And then it was all finished. Yay, all done. So here we have it, the final article. I'm not unhappy with it. I think it epitomizes Christmas in July. I'd like to say at this point a big thank you to Tracy over at Mini Scenes GB for organising this collaboration. And if you stuck with me till now, please do feel free to like and subscribe and all that jazz. Don't forget, the playlist for the collaboration is in the description. Have a good look through, and I hope you find something to inspire you. Take care. See you again. Bye.